Is it on? Is the mic on? Test, test 1, 2. Huncho, Zay. It's Sunday morning. Let me stop. Look. I've been thinking about them diamonds, but I don't need to speak my mind. I tell myself that.
This is Shawn Blount Jr., your host with Major Leaders Podcast, where we have in-depth conversations with individuals who are making changes in their community, changes throughout the community, as well as the environment. So we want to have a special guest today that I think I'm just honored to be in his presence, honestly, to have a few minutes of his time. Today's guest joining us is someone who's dedicated in his life's work to public service, community improvement. He's a lifelong Norfolk resident. He has strong ties to the Park Place and Lambert's Point neighborhoods. He's a proud graduate of Norfolk Public Schools, the Governor's School of the Arts, and Old Dominion University. His background is public service, includes roles in the Norfolk School Board, where he's made a significant impact as chair and vice chair. He's also served as executive director of Friends of the Portsmouth Juvenile Court, advocating for at-risk youth and families. And he was the youngest and first African-American director of the Norfolk Division of the Hampton Roads Chamber, where he worked to support small businesses and regional economic growth. He's also deeply involved in various organizations, serving on boards like Visit Norfolk and SECEP, and is the chairman of the Governor's School of the Arts. His priorities as a city councilman member focus on public safety, affordable housing, economic growth, and environmental resilience. Without further ado, joining us today is our newly elected councilman representing Super Ward 7 in the city of Norfolk, Carlos Clanton.
Hey, appreciate it, Shawn.
How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing well, man. Out here doing the work.
That is amazing. Once again, it's truly a pleasure. And I'm excited for the conversations that we're going to have today. I think it's one extremely important and one that we both feel strongly about. So I'm excited that we're able to actually get this going today. For those who do not know who this gentleman is, to be honest with you, this is someone who my family, my peers, my friends, business professionals, when I hear his name and I bring him up, nothing but great things about them. Nothing but great things. Growing up in the church, I had no idea the amount of work and service you've done, and your name carries a lot of weight. So I'm extremely blessed and thankful to be in your presence, and I know that we're going to have a pretty great conversation. I wanted to start with just from the beginning, if you don't mind. Okay, I want to start with the beginning and wanted to share how your childhood was and how that has shaped you to the man that you are today.
Yeah, we appreciate it, Shawn. I can definitely tell you that I remember when your mom was carrying you, and you such a joy before you got there. And but I grew up right there in Lambert's Point, and I started in Lambert's Point all the way up until my freshman year of high school, and then we moved to Park Place. But First Baptist Lambert's Point is my home church. That's where, as a little boy, I grew up singing in the children's choir there and grew up and knew so many people. But honestly, First Baptist Lambert's Point I tell people I had so many mothers and its extended dads who poured into me. I'm the oldest of three, single parent home. And literally, my people, man, I didn't come from a whole lot. I came from love and support in that respect, but we lived in literally a 2-bedroom duplex on 37th and Bolden Ferry Road. And so I often, people ask me about the work that I do today. During that time when I was growing up, I didn't realize. But when I look back today, I was very close to poverty. We did not have a whole lot, but strong. Though my church invested in me, my work in the community. I mean, just really school, my teachers, man, they really, I was one of those kids, and I'll share this story that when, we get your summer break, my favorite time was the 2 weeks before school started when teachers would come back, because I would always go back and help my teachers from the year before. And while I was there to get a chance to meet the teachers that I was going to work with, And to this day, my swearing in was on the 3rd. I had a room and there were so many of my former teachers that were there, members of my church family, community. And I said to everybody, it was almost 100 people in there, that everybody in this room, and there's many more who are not here today, who poured into me. And because of your time, your energy, your love, I'm here today. And so my expression has always been about giving back, and realizing that I didn't come from a whole lot. But I have an opportunity. I've got a space, that I got a platform that I can affect change, because it's not about me. It's about using the opportunity to really do good things for good people.
That is amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I wanted to ask you, what does building strong communities mean to you? What did that mean to you?
So building strong communities, I've always said throughout this entire campaign that I want a Norfolk where everybody can thrive. And often when you live in our city, you hear about redlining, you hear about a lot of things from the past. And we have sections of our community that are really distressed. We have a large number of individuals who are living in poverty. We have a large number of individuals who are unhoused. And so when I talk about a strong community, it's about giving opportunities, not a whole lot of handouts. I'm not about that, because that doesn't salute that. That's a Band-Aid on the problem. But how do we invest in people, whether through education, providing opportunities of safeguards while they're getting to their next level? But then also, and that's even from our youngest all the way to our oldest. This is why I worked in public education for so long, making sure that we've got quality public education, but also pre-K, knowing that when we start early and providing those supports, that children have a great start. But then also, I'm also looking at the other end spectrum, when we've got folks who served their time, who've worked hard all their entire lives, and all they want to do is have the comfortability of being a senior and to be retired, but to make sure that they are not spending 80% of their income on housing, if they're on a fixed income. So if you worked all that time, I want you to make sure that you, in those, they would say those golden years, that you can enjoy those things. So everything in between, I'm looking at how do we create opportunities, even for college students. In Norfolk, we've got ODU in Norfolk State. Well, I want some of these great minds not to leave the area. I want them to stay here. But I also realize that affordable housing is a challenge in our community. So that's something that I'm focused on. How do we bring those minds and those professionals? I'm not the professional in affordable housing, but I can be the mouthpiece. I can be the champion. I can pull people together to find solutions to bring about real results in our community. So that's what I would say, quality community. It's something that meets everybody, and not people getting stuck in their corners, but how can we find consensus around something to move and keep the needle moving?
Thank you for sharing that. You said something that really resonated with me, and it's one of the people who actually kind of introduced me to you as well. My younger brother, you said starts early. My younger brother, Xavier, who actually was also in the boys choir. And he had said, yeah, I knew exactly who you were. And I said, really? I said, yeah. And I'm going to be interviewing him, pretty soon here. And he was also in the boys choir. And I wanted to mention, how has music in your life played in a role in who you are as a person today?
Oh, man. I'm a founding member of the boys choir. And there was a teacher, Geraldine Boone, who was there at my swearing in. She's the one who, again, it started at church. I was a boy soprano, and your mom would tell you I was doing circles around. But the Miss Boone is the one who, as a middle school kid at Blair Middle School, who introduced me to classical music. I will never forget being at Blair and she telling me, hey, go get your lunch, because the chorus room was right across from the lunchroom. And she was like, and come over. And so she started playing the song I didn't know at the time. It was Panis Angelicus by Cesar Franck. And she starts playing. And I was like, oh, that's pretty, and then she starts going through. And next thing I know, I'm learning the song. And then by the time I finished performing it for him, next thing you know, Ms. Boone says, great, you're going to perform this in the Optimus Bland Music Contest. And I was like, what? But that's where the itch came for classical music, man. And then I went to do it again. I didn't win the first year, got second place and won the next year. Then I got in the Virginia Opera Children's Chorus, which then led me to become the youngest adult chorus member at 13 Arts. And both of those places. I've 35 years at Virginia Opera now. And the governor's school, not only I'm the first alum to ever come back and to be on the board of the governor's school, be vice chair of the board, and then chairman of the board. So when I just finished my term on the school board, I was the chairman of the board for the governor's school. So music has always been a part of my life. And this is one of the things I was just telling a young man today. Don't let anybody ever tell you that you can't do it all. And when I say you can't do it all, we have so many opportunities. So you don't have to just be a musician. You can be a musician that's a banker, who also might be a tech nerd, or who might be somebody in real estate, but also is aspiring on their side in respect of doing social media and telling stories. So you can do it all. Whatever your passion is, if you are committed to it, you will find a way. And, that's what's happened for me. I'm still doing music, but I'm also serving my community. But I'm not just a classical singing opera singer. I'm a singer that's community focused. That's a tech nerd that's doing all those things. So you can do it all.
Wow. And I saw that just in preparation for our conversation, just looking at now the numerous things that you've been able to accomplish. It's truly inspiring to say that and actually see that with the action. So that is 100% true, and definitely has given not only myself, but I'm sure others that motivation to go out there and accomplish their goals. So thank you for sharing that. I do want to talk about your journey into public service. Okay. What led you, or what circumstance put you in a position where you decided that you wanted to get into work of public service and helping others?
So it's funny. It's all over to the side, but there is in 2021, African American Today named me as one of Hampton Roads' top 20 under 30 leaders. I was 21 years old. And the article said Clanton's dream to be a city councilman by 25. Now that didn't just pop out of air, but when I was in school, I was in leadership. I was state president of the Virginia Technology Student Association, FBLA, debated. So it was all these little things that I was involved in that was really beginning to form who Carlos was. Because if anybody asked me, all I was going to do is be a world famous opera singer, because that was the only thing that I was exposed to when I was in middle school. That's what I was on the trajectory for. I didn't become councilman by the time I was 25. I actually made history and became the first Black director of our chamber and the youngest at 24 years old. But it was everything that prepared me for that moment. When I worked for Bank of America, I got corporate experience and had an opportunity to do the international children's art contest for Bank of America, for the entire bank, for the entire world. And it was hosted right there in Norfolk. But I was this 22-year-old kid, but because of everything that I learned and the experiences that I had in public schools, helped me to kind of build all those things together. And so when I went to be director of the chamber, that's really when my eyes started opening up to see about the political process, understanding how laws were getting in place. I learned about that in school, but now I was in a role that was really an opportunity to affect that change. My board told me, said, look around this table. There's not a lot of people that look like you. Our goal as a board is that we want our division in Norfolk to reflect the city that we serve. And so after 4 years, that board looked like the city that we served. And today I can still go back to the Norfolk division and it looks like the city that it serves. And so it may not be some big grand thing, but it's the little things that we're able to do that have even prepared me for this moment now as a city council member. My mother in 2017, I had a conversation with her. My mother was ill at the time, and one of my last conversations with her really was just go do it. It wasn't a Nike commercial, but my mom said, "You've been building your entire life for this. Take it, go." And so I did. I put my head out there and I ran for school board in 2018. I won by 32 votes in a three-way race. I served, but guess what? The people in my ward got to know me, and I won by a much larger vote margin the next go around. And so now I'm here and I'm running for city council, 5-way race and recount that I went from 92 to 91 votes. But I'm here. And one of the things that I'm doing right now is I'm reaching out to folks who voted for somebody else. Because at the end of the day, the campaign is over with. I'm here to govern and to be a resource and to support. And so if there are things that we can agree on and things that I can help champion, I'm extending the olive branch and I'm having those meetings because at the end of the day, it's not about who wins or lose, but can I be an effective leader? Can I help move the needle? And all I want to do is see things get done. And so I don't care who gets the credit, but that's one of the other things I'm looking at doing is creating a gumbo coalition. And that's my mentor, Mark Morial, did it when he was mayor of New Orleans. I'm literally looking to surround myself with various different opinions. We don't have to agree. And I don't want people who are yes people around me. I want you to challenge me to think outside of the box, to see from your lens, your perspective, as we try to find and forge together things that can move forward for our community and where I can see all those different varying perspectives. And so you're going to see that application is going to go out. I'm going to ask for people to come there. I'm going to shake it up every so often because I want people around the table who reflect our community. And they know that I'm just a conduit. This isn't about me serving you. I'm a servant leader. I'm here to serve you and work with the community.
That's powerful. That is powerful. And I know that not only our specific ward, Ward 7, but the city of Norfolk and multiple communities across the world can really take a lot about what you just said there. And more importantly, understand that when it comes to advocacy, especially when someone just has these lofty aspirations and be able to accomplish them like yourself, to have not only the knowledge, the experience to back it up, but even have the humility to have people surrounding you so that you continue to improve, continue to evolve and accept those opinions. So that is amazing work. I wanted to touch on something. I had saw this picture. I think it was I don't know if it was on LinkedIn or on Facebook, but you were out here a little bit past Church Street. And I believe you were with a group of kids and you were planting, I think it was planting
trees.
Yeah, planting some trees. Which initiative was that you were doing in that specific?
So that was actually with Teams with a Purpose. And it was working with Keeping Norfolk Beautiful. And I got an invitation to come out. The young men were going to be planting trees. And it was really cool because I thought I knew a lot about it, but I didn't. But it was great. It was a cold day, but it was a part of the urban garden and Purpose Park, as they call it. And it's amazing that this space, which used to have a different life, but this really sat dormant for years, now through Teams with a Purpose is allowing young people inner city to create a garden they can be proud of. And so now they've planted all these trees that they will be able to watch grow into something beautiful, especially when you see around the community sometimes, there's so much crime and murder and things that are going on. It is what it says, Purpose Park, and there can be hope in that. And so I was glad that those young people could look back and say, hey, you know what? I helped plant that tree. And they learned something out of it. So yeah, it was a great opportunity.
That was amazing. I wanted to be sure I asked you that today. So for some of the listeners that are out there and they're hearing so much information from you, and I'm sure they're inspired at this point, I want to take a step back. You, like as we recently had said, newly elected in an amazing run as city councilman here for Ward 7. For those listeners, are you able to explain what exactly it is that you do as our city councilman?
Oh, wow, man. It's so.
I know you.
First and most thing is I am I'm an advocate. And I guess even before you become the advocate, you got to be a listener. And so one of the things about me is that I pride myself on being a good listener. We don't have to agree, but I will give you the time to listen and to hear, because even out of disagreement on the surface, I may find something that we can agree on. And so as a council member, you're a representative. I represent 115,000 people in the city. That's half the city of Norfolk. That's several different wards. And it's different from school board because I'm dealing with education. But now as a council member, I'm dealing with everything. As they would say, the dog catcher, to you picking up my garbage on time from the pothole. So my thing has been, and it's different because I've been talking to my colleagues about this because I'm a super ward versus the regular ward. So in that, I've got Ward 3, 4, 2 precincts and 2, in Ward 2, 2 precincts in Ward 1. And so when I'm looking at that, I'm like, you all are doing like the grassroots stuff. Like you're looking at the potholes, the lights, all those things. What do I get to do as kind of as I see it, the treetops? Because I cover several different wards. And for Super Ward 7, I've got very affluent neighborhoods all the way down to neighborhoods that are very distressed. So I'm not just representing one group, but I'm having a multitude of different things that I'm juggling. But that's where it goes back to how do I make this a better Norfolk? And so when I talk about public safety, well, everybody wants to be able to walk down the streets and feel safe in their neighborhoods. And so that's something that crosses wards. That doesn't matter. Well, affordable housing, everybody wants to be able to have a place to be able to live and call their own, whether or not they're looking for a rental property or they're looking for their starter property or they're just something for investment. Or as you heard me earlier talk about seniors, where they can have a place where they can retire. But then I talked about resiliency. And resiliency for us, anybody that lives in Norfolk knows we get a good rain, we floating in some areas. So we're talking about this massive flood wall, but jobs, the economy, quality public education, those are all things that cross boundaries, but that's where I want to be, a strong economy. So those are the things that I'm advocating for that still support my ward leaders that are driving. So I'm that second voice. I'm supporting those things, but I'm looking at things also from the treetop. How do they kind of be a canopy for everybody in the city of Norfolk? And so I guess if I could kind of give a visual on that, that's what I'm doing.
Right. Absolutely. And part of the Hampton Roads Chambers and your work there, I want to touch again on the workforce development side of things and some of the initiatives that you have been a part of in the past or currently still a part of that will help to increase the workforce development here in the city.
Well, as I mentioned, for one, like I work in juvenile justice now. So I'm a strong believer in CTE, which is career technical education. Everybody is not going to a 2 or 4 year college. That's the reality. And we have individuals that can still be certified HVAC, electricians, plumbers, all those things which are very needed and very lucrative jobs. But then you look here in Hampton Roads, we're strong maritime, ship repair, military. You go across the water over in Newport News and you're building nuclear submarines and the carriers. So I'm very much about the opportunities of making sure that at the primary level, pre-K, elementary, high school, that we are moving towards creating an environment that prepares young people for life, career, and or military service. And so working with that respect of me being able to serve on the school board and being able to see that, I want us to have a unified plan. And I've said it when I was on the school board, and I'm going to continue that work here and building that as a member of council to create career academies in our high schools, get rid of attendance boundaries, create career academies where students get a chance to have choice, to follow the career pathways that really talks to them. And then when I also look at that are individuals who've been incarcerated, that is not the end. You may have made a mistake, whether or not that was a juvenile or as an adult. So getting more of our workforce development programs out there, our night school, adult education opportunities, and presenting those, working with our community action agencies here so we can remove barriers. Because we have individuals who, what I call, want to get to the next level. However, they have this subsidy or they have that thing that's supporting them. But the moment that they make too much money, on paper, it may look like it's too much money. We call this benefit cliffs, where individuals, you take something away from them and we now just distress them again. So there's no incentive to get off of public support or some of these other things. And so I'm working with holistically. How do we pull all these different agencies and groups together? And that's why I support Norfolk's People First plan and what they've been doing with St. Paul's. You can change all the physical structure around a person. But if you don't educate them about finance, if you don't educate them about a career and opportunities, some of the things I've been able to do with HR CAP, when I work with them, also at the STOP organization, I was in workforce development there. There are great opportunities here We now have the casino that's coming in. That's a whole new industry in hospitality. We just put $20 million in renovations on our cruise ship terminal. A lot of people don't know that we were just seasonal. You could get, you could cruise a little bit of time and that was it. We are year round, starting in April, man. You can get on a cruise ship anytime, every week. There's gonna be a ship going out. So what does that mean for our economy? Means that we have a great opportunity to move into more hospitality and as well as tourism. So I'm all about how do we find these different services, but most importantly, how do we train and educate our community to be prepared to work in these new jobs? And so I'm going to continue to use the resources that we have available to us and make sure that people know about it and that we are going to them, not putting it just on a website, but that we're going into the community and letting them know about the opportunities. So yeah, that I guess that's in a nutshell.
That's amazing because you touched on something that I actually felt there, where a lot of conversations that I have with my peers and colleagues when it comes to, especially within the education piece of it. I graduated in 2018. It's been a few years now. I know it's not too long, but yeah. But with that being said, one of the things that we look back on and would have been wonderful to have at least been more publicized as an option was those career style options where you can get into those trade schools and they were available, right? So you have the Botech, you had some other business courses that were available, but depending on how it was pushed to some people, it wasn't something that you originally just wanted to get into willingly. So with those efforts, I mean, I think a lot of people, especially at the high school age, those pivotal years, they're going to be able to really appreciate those down the line for sure.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Okay, I want to ask this because it comes with everything that we do. It's not always sunshine and rainbows, unfortunately, but it definitely builds the callus to who we are. And ultimately, what I've always been taught is to create solutions, right? So I wanted to talk about some of those obstacles, some of those challenges, not necessarily within workforce development or really just in general when it comes to being an advocate. What are some things that you think has been somewhat of a challenge and ways you've been able to overcome those challenges?
Yeah, I think, especially when I look at the city of Norfolk right now, is that we have to restore trust within the people and their leaders, that they aren't giving them, as y'all young folk would say, you gaslight them, and you don't actually change anything. So this is one of the things that when I was on the trail, I want to be accountable. So I actually will be generating a report card. I will be launching on coming Monday from here my new website, a constituent website. People can go to councilmanclanton.com and they'll see what I'm doing. They'll be able to see all the projects that are going on in Super Ward 7. So if you talked about a pothole or you're looking for a light, I want you to know that we're working on it and what the status is. The other thing, I guess, we look at trust, but then the other thing is that there is only a finite amount of money. So you get this thing like, when people tell me when I was in school, it's like, oh, we need a new school. I was like, good. If I could have a magic wand and get brand new schools, I make it happen. However, they cost money. They cost a lot of money. And so it's this balancing act, because unless we're raising taxes, which is something I'm not in a support of, we've got to be able to take from somewhere to place somewhere else to make something happen. And so there are these competing priorities. And so that even gets down into the neighborhoods. My neighborhood wants a swimming pool over here. My neighborhood wants an entire new rec center here. So do we get to a posture of placating and putting all these things in every neighborhood? Or do we better kind of bring people along with us, being truthful with them and saying, look, we may not be able to put this in everybody's neighborhood, but we can centralize this so that everybody can be able to use this resource. And so that's one of the things that for me is to bring people along with me. And that is being transparent, being available, and listening to their concerns and just saying, well, how can we find a resolution to that? It may not be the whole cart and caboodle that you want, but we can chip away at it. And so that's one of the things that I think that in this political climate, people have gotten too far away from, and that is compromise. That you get something, I get something, but at the end of the day, we're moving forward. And I think that far too often people get in their corner, you get in that corner, and people become siloed. And it's hyper partisanship or hyper just something, but nobody wants to be in the middle working. And so I want to be that bridge. And that's why I put out this theme for my term here, starting off, that I want to bridge, build, and empower our neighborhoods. And when I talk about that, that is bridging the gap for far too long between those who have and don't have. But then also this whole thing of that's a white neighborhood, this is a black neighborhood. No, we're Norfolk. And at the day, all of those things diversify, whatever neighborhood you're coming from, it makes us who we are. And so how can we come together, so bridge, so that we can build? And once we start building, that's building relationship, that's building economic opportunity, that's building a space where we can reduce the wealth gap, and create opportunities there. Then we can empower people. And that's where my human service side comes in here. That's that Maslow's law hierarchy, in the respect that if you can have a job, put food on your table, have a roof over your head, that you've got the education, you've got great health. And guess what? If you've got all those things taken care of, then you've got the space to be able to be empowered, to be engaged in your community. And that's what I want. A more engaged folks in the process, whether or not they're serving a board or commission, or coming to a meeting. As I remind people, I'm only one. But if I had the collective power of the community behind me, and letting me know how you feel, not want something happen, walk with me, tell me what you want up front, and just understand that, okay, great. You may not get all of that, but we're going to work darn hard to get you some of it. And just know that it may not happen this year, but it may happen 2-3 years later. But I'm going to be truthful with you, and we'll get there.
No, you got me excited. Just hearing you talk, I'm excited for the work that you're definitely going to be able to do. And then also, and from my background in business, we oftentimes have a term what's called an accountability partner. And oftentimes in life too, you're going to have an accountability partner. And with this report card that you're mentioning, it sounds like you're going to have a lot of accountability partners, but it only just is there to improve. And it's like you said, to be able to bridge those gaps and create solutions. So that's exciting. And I think that's a wonderful strategy. I might have to use that myself as well.
All right.
Absolutely. Can you discuss any successful programs or initiatives that you either have been a part of or have seen on the horizon that have helped just community advocacy or community involvement recently?
I think I mentioned some of them. Like I said, the Gumbo Coalition that Mark Morial utilized, that was really a way of bringing many different people together and perspectives. I think oftentimes we just don't talk. And when I say talk, well, let me just spend it, not just talk, we don't communicate. And that is in the respect that is not just one-sided, you talking and you're not listening. My grandmother taught me that, growing up, you got 2 eyes and 2 ears. That means you need to do twice listening, and twice looking and paying attention, then you're actually talking. So I think the Gumbo Coalition is one that's there. I think there's some great things around workforce development that I've seen. The educational component, I really want to bridge the gap between city council and the school board so that we are unified on this new process, because we've got schools that we've got to consolidate and take offline. But it's, we're no longer a 45,000 student population of our school division. We're more like 25,000. So you look at that, we've almost lost 20,000 students in there, and that's nationwide. It's not just because it's a Norfolk public school thing. But there's almost $88 million in savings to the taxpayers of the city of Norfolk that we put into schools every year. But the average age of our schools are 50 years old. So could we come up with a plan, financing plan with the council, educational plan that could create career academies, so we can meet the needs of the workforce and our community here? Well, guess what? Hampton's already doing it. Hampton's been doing it for almost 10 years now. They're all 100% of their schools are fully accredited. 98% of their students are graduating on time. Their freshman class coming, and when the time that they finish their entire GPA point higher than their counterparts here, something's happening right there. And they are coming out of school ready. Their disciplinary issues are lower because they're self-governing themselves. So I believe that when we make those types of investments and we work together, we can create great results. And that's just some of the things that are out there that I can show you that, just right off the top of my head, that I know that are working. And I'm going to be working to make sure that they conform to something that we can do here in Norfolk.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I want to shift gears briefly. I know we've been talking about a lot of great information, and I'm sure that our listeners are going to be able to get a lot of information, but just so they can kind of get you on a more personal note, get to know you. Would you mind sharing, what would you say is your favorite movie if you had to choose
Oh,
one?
my favorite movie.
Favorite movie?
Man, I'm such a movie buff. That's actually my escape time. To go to movies.
Not your top one, because I'm a movie buff as well. Maybe your top couple, just maybe no order, just top three.
I mean, I'm a Trekkie, so I love all the Star Trek movies. I don't care what it is. I love Star Trek, and I think for me, when I say I'm a Trekkie, it's because I love technology. And it's funny because now I see so much stuff that was in there. You know, Chat GPT was pretty much the computer, talking to people. But there's like the Green Mile, which I think the Green Mile for me, it was the first time I was actually in a movie theater that was like 3.5 hours. And I didn't realize I was in a movie theater for 3.5 hours because I was so engulfed in the story. I love history movies. Documentaries, man. It could be the game. And of course, Captain Marvel. Yeah, that's hard. I'm all over the place. I'm one of those really eclectic movie watchers.
That's amazing. Okay. Your favorite artist or band? Music?
Musically, it's hard. I mean, I would probably say because he has a great mix, and there will probably be two of them there. So I love PJ Morton, because of the fact that PJ, he's got a secular group that he's with, but PJ's also, he just has this, it's like mix you coming on. Am I listening to gospel? He's talking about love. And then, of course, Jonathan, I've sung with both of them through Full Gospel. And Jonathan McReynolds just has like the smoothest voice that you will ever imagine out there. But yeah, so I'll probably say those two.
That's amazing. Okay. What has been an impactful book for you, or your favorite book that's really helped shape who you are?
I think it's not a very hard read, but it's Who Moved My Cheese. It was one of the first leadership books that I got when I was at Bank of America. And it really helped me to understand that change is inevitable. And it really comes down to how do you react to it? Are you going to go along with it? Are you going to adapt? Or are you going to sit by and get left out? So yeah, Who Moved My Cheese?
Love that book. It's funny. I go back and read that book. Probably I try to at least once a year. It's very easy, like you said, easy read. Yeah, really good. Okay, and then I guess last from my speed round questions. What would you say? Okay, how about this? Who would you say? Because I'm sure you have dinners with a lot of people. You could have dinner with one person, and this is a person you haven't had in previous times. Who would be that one person? It could be a historical figure or someone you inspired by, motivated by. Who would that one person be?
I think honestly, I'll probably say historically, because I've met a lot of people. But one of my fraternity brothers, MLK, I would just love to speak to MLK, because when you really begin to learn about his life, not just what we see on TV, but the story there, he was very much he was a minister, but he was a man, and he wasn't perfect. And it reminds me of how imperfect people can be used to really create great opportunities. And so I often remind people that you may not see the greatness in yourself today, but if you allow yourself to be used in a way that can not only affect change, but leave or open yourself up to understanding that you may not see it, but there is greatness in you. And so I would just love to sit down to just really hear about the stories from MLK. He was also my fraternity brother. I would probably say MLK.
Yeah, actually, that sounds like something I would want to join in on as well. That conversation, absolutely. Okay, I want to shift back gears because you had mentioned something, just being a Trekkie yourself, and I am as well. Technology, it's changing right in front of us, and really something that they've informed us with years ago, long time ago. I wanted to talk about how, not necessarily just AI, but how has technology changed how you go about, whether it be business advocacy, school board, how has that really changed how you've been able to kind of operate on a day-to-day basis?
So, when I was in school and I was in the Technology Student Association, our motto used to be learning to live in a technical world. They changed it a couple years back to learning to lead in a technical world. And so when I look at that same mantra, how we're right now, you're using StreamYard to be able to host this. I went to StreamYard during the pandemic. How was I going to communicate to my constituents and to our parents and so forth that it was safe and or what was going on or food distribution? So I created my own live, and that was the first time a school board member had ever done that. But then I also used it to go to every school in my ward when it was time when we were gearing up to go in and start bringing our staff and our students back. I went into the building myself to demonstrate to the families and to reassure them that we had taken every precaution that we possibly could and that it was safe for them to return. So technology helped in that respect. Of course, social media, I'm all over doing those things there. And I'm an avid user of AI. To be able to do a multitude of different things, from my website stuff, and it's just a lot. And I think that when people embrace technology as a tool that can help you do what you need to do, you can get so many more things done. And what wouldn't necessarily be one single individual trying to do something, you can have a multitude of things. And I'm not gonna lie. I mean, in my campaign, I had some AI. I was like, my consultant here did. Let me, what do you think about that? So I think that there is a great opportunity, and you're going to see more of that where people will be able to embrace that. And I think there's good. But I also think that there are some cautionary things that we still have to look at, because I think I just heard about the barber out there in Vegas. He actually went to ChatGPT and asked, how can I create this? So I think that there's still some safeguards and things that we can put in place. But overall, I'm an avid user and supporter of technology. I think it's only making our world, if we use it in the right way, can make it better. It can be more efficient in getting things done.
Thank you for sharing that. I wanted to go back to some of the listeners as far as wanted to get this perspective on it. And you touched on it largely throughout it so far, but just so that the listeners can understand, how can they get involved and ensure that their voice is heard? How can they be involved and ensure that the things that are, once again, improving the city is actually being met?
Yeah. So one of the things, and I just put it out here, serve on a board or commission. We have applications year round. And there's over 500 opportunity positions where people can serve, everything from planning down to the zoo board or the library board. There's great opportunities there. As I mentioned, my Gumbo Coalition, I'm going to be looking for people. I don't need you to have a college degree or be this. Just have a heart, as my brother Martin would have said, a heart of service. And so being able to do that, I'm going to be doing town halls. And chat and shoes and coffees. And I'm going to be in every section out here because I want to be accessible to the community so that you can share those things. But you can go to my constituent website. You can be able to put it and send me an email, send me a chat. If you've got a request, a lot of people don't know we've got the My Norfolk app, but you can also put open ticket requests online. So educating people about the resources that are in place so that they can utilize those things so that I can be a much more effective elected official for them and representative and voice. And most importantly, creating spaces where they can be at the table. And that it's not just for a select group, but if you want to serve, you want to be heard, and you want to do it in decency and order, because I'm big on that. Like, I have no problem with anybody saying what they want to, but we're going to respect everybody. We're going to respect. I may not agree with you, but we can be respectful. I can respectfully disagree with you without, being something else.
Well, I get you, man. From what you're saying, I thought I worked hard, but it seems like I still got some more work to do. How do you unwind? Like, what's your? I know you watch movies. Is there anything else that you do to kind of?
Music is one of my outlets there. So of course I'm still performing with Virginia Opera. Matter of fact, I'll be in the world premiere of Loving versus Virginia. Every morning I try to get up, get to the gym by 6:30 in the morning, get on the treadmill for 30 minutes down there, do my workout, get in a massage chair before I go out there, because I'm encouraging people, especially for me this year, is that you can't give of yourself to everyone else if you aren't taking care of yourself. And so you got to pour into yourself first. And so once a month I go to Jake's Place, which is a spa just for guys. And yes, I'm getting my massage. I mean, so I can release everything that I got through this week, so I can be refreshed. And you got to take breaks. And people should be able to respect when you just take some time off, put the phone down, go. Every December I'm going for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm out. Like I'm done, and I come back and I'm ready to go, and I can go for another 6 months, or at least till spring break come, and then I can get a little break in there. But you just got to find that balance. Yes, you can do it all, but you got to give yourself that grace to be able to take some time for yourself, because you're not going to be young all your life, and you can be running. Because I'm telling you, for years I ran 4 hours of sleep. That was it, and I was up. Worked late at night, got up early in the morning. But take that time, because there's going to be a time where you're going to look back and you'll be like, wow, I did all of these things and all this work, but I didn't get a chance to do this, or I didn't spend this much time with my family. And so in leadership, there is some sacrifices that you make, but find that balance so that you don't ever have a regret, I shoulda, coulda, woulda moment.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow, this has been amazing. And honestly, I could probably go hours just us talking and having this conversation. But for the sake of time, I want to just ask you, do you have a quote that you live by, or that really just keeps you going? I know you had mentioned your mother had a saying for you that really stuck to you. Is there anything else that really has stuck with you that keeps you going?
I used to have a kind of self-affirmation I used to say to myself, that I'm a man on a mission, because in order to have a mission, you have to have goals. In order to reach those goals, you have to remain focused. And one of the things that when I was at Bank of America, and I even still use this in my work today, is accuracy, efficiency, courtesy, great show. Get it done right. Get it done right in a timely manner. Do it with a smile on your face, and never let them see you sweat. And that's how I approach everything. I'm going to make sure I get everything in there so that I can do it right. I can do it in the most effective way. And that knowing that in leadership, you're going to be tested. So no matter what, keep a smile on your face. Never let them see you sweat. And most importantly, that stuff happens. But that's where that technical mind comes in, critical thinking. How can you react in the respect if something doesn't go the way you expect it to be? What can you do to course correct, get it done? And so that's how my life has kind of been. It's like looking at things. How do we keep moving the needle? If I don't achieve this here, that doesn't mean that it's over. How can I go around? What new things? What did I learn from this that can prepare me for the next opportunity?
Well, Councilman, this has been an amazing conversation. I want to thank you for sharing your time and also the information here on Major Leaders. You're always welcome here. In the meantime, I just want to say thank you once again for being on the show today.
Appreciate you. Thanks, Shawn.
I love too hard. I love that girl. She love when I was bleed. Can't trust her soul. What I was taught on these unload creeks. Talking straps, I run and that still wind up getting smashed.